Sorcerer Battlegrounds has been saved. For now at least. Many of you are probably thinking that that's a bold statement, especially after my last video. Yet it has boiled down to this one moment, and it's up to Reg, the head developer, to decide how to keep the new and returning players around. No pressure of course, but let's finally talk about everything that had led up to this update and how at one point this update may have never came. If you have been active within the community or even remotely up to date with what's happening, you might have heard about the mutiny by the Sorcerer Battlegrounds staff and how they leaked almost everything. One thing that was not leaked was Maharaga and its development, which was something that most people cared about. Despite this, we got shown things that we were yet to see, ranging from a Toji rework to a new character, Kashimo. And I can confidently say that many of us thought to ourselves, why are they working on new characters and not older promised characters? But as the next week came and went, it finally came along. And well, needless to say, they completely outdid themselves, but of course not without its faults. But first I will explain how to get this ultimate and how it works. The first one is pretty simple. You just need to keep damaging people after your first ult bar is max, then keep going until the white one is full too, and finally summon Maharaga. But let's say you're in a pinch and have to awaken before your second awakening is full. Well, no worries, because you can just start your first awakening and keep the meter for the second awakening. But don't get it twisted, you will always die in your second awakening. What do I mean by this? Well, you're on borrowed time, which means you have a short period of time until you die and Maharaga gets unsummoned. But first, let's talk about its main gimmick, which is adaptations. The way it adapts is by getting hit. Depending on which character and move you're hit by, you'll gain a damage resistance against said character. Of course, you aren't invincible and can be killed. You also don't passively regenerate health. However, killing players does regain about a third of it. But let's talk about the moves that accompany your adaptations. The first one is Divine Air Blast, which is an AoE move dealing about 20% damage. You can also confirm this off of left clicks. The second move is Silat Terrain Toss. As the name suggests, it's a projectile where you throw the terrain at your enemy. It deals 90% damage and is pretty easily aimed. The third move is Divine Hook. It's an aerial down slam that does a grab when someone is hit. The down slam is an AoE, so it's great for crowd control. It deals a total of 18% damage. And now for the best and my favorite move, World Cutting Slash. This is a hyper armor map wide slash, dealing upwards of 75%. Keep in mind, the damage scales with distance, so the further the enemy is, the less damage it deals. The World Cutting Slash can be used to cancel other ultimate moves such as domain expansions, fire arrows, and more. This move is a singular use, so you have to be careful on when you use it. But let's talk about something you've probably noticed throughout the recording. The map is completely reworked, and honestly, it's probably for the better. It's a lot more open and visually looks a lot better than the old one. I can't really say if it affects the performance or not, because my PC is too good to notice the couple frame drops, but do let me know down in the comments. But let's talk about some of the other things they added. First one is Soul Manipulator. Soul Manipulator, or Maito, has gotten a new set of M1s and a finisher for Soul Impale. The M1s are a lot smoother and consistent now. Overall, a good change. But what I want to talk about is the finisher for Soul Impale, and oh my god, I want to see more of this for other moves on Maito. Now, for the final addition, and probably the most surprising, Kashimo. Kashimo released with his own curse tool and two new moves. First is Raw Output. It's a grab move dealing 14% damage. You can confirm this off of M1s. The second is Negative Discharge. This has a multitude of uses, mainly as a combo extender. With Negative Discharge, regardless if your enemy is blocking or not, they will be stunned for a short period of time. Expect this to be a running trend with the following moves for Kashimo, as the quirk with his cursed energy is to stun people regardless if they block. But like with any SPG update, there are many negatives to talk about. Aside from Maharaga having an extreme amount of bugs on release, one of the bigger issues was a lack of a side and backdash. Well, you'd think that's a bug too, but they would have missed such a crucial game mechanic, right? Well, as it turns out, they just didn't fucking care. And if you know anything about any Battleground game, you would know that if you don't have an evasive dash, you get completely demolished. What this leads to is basically infinite combos that you can't get out of. I mean, that wouldn't be a problem if your moves had hyper armor. Now make a guess on what you don't have. For something that takes longer to get and straight up kills you once the ult runs out, this needs to be more powerful. and I can't believe I am asking for something to be more unbalanced, but this really needs it to be fun. Then again, recently all the testers left, so I'm not surprised why no one thought of this. The newest character, Kashimo, it's pretty cool, except for the fact that the moves feel extremely unresponsive. Negative discharge should not lock you into place in the middle or after the move. I mean, slight end lag is fine, but it just makes you give a 1000-yard stare against the Yuji's about to remove a third of your health. And the first move, raw output, yeah, that isn't safe either. You need to literally be giving the enemy a kiss to land the move. Otherwise they will have a chance to just walk out of the combo. But let's finally talk about the future that awaits Sorcerer Battlegrounds. As I mentioned at the start, Sorcerer Battlegrounds has been engulfed in some big drama that persists even now. With more and more drama piling on the new staff, the future that awaits the community is uncertain. But one thing that I can say confidently is that this update has completely knocked it out of the park quality-wise. But let's hope that RH upholds his promise to keep updating more frequently now. And I was initially gonna point out this question in my negative section, but why did they start work on a new character instead of finishing Mahito? And the answer is pretty simple. Fully releasing 2 new things at once, that would hurt the game. But what we found out is that Mahito will be finished before Kashimo gets any further development. As for the community and the new staff, it has been extremely controversial to say the least. Ranging from making a guy with less than 300 messages a staff member, to the community manager wanting to shut down communities that he deemed quote-unquote unimportant. And before you ask, no, he didn't actually shut down anything and he got talked out of it. But what came out of this negative situation was rather positive. You might be wondering what this change was even for. Versus, the new community manager, wished to host tournaments for Sorcerer Battlegrounds. And for some reason, Versus decided that the best idea to unite communities was to hinder them? But now that these thankfully didn't go through, we have official tournaments that you yourself can take part of. Of course, like any other tournament, these have prizes, such as custom titles, clothing, and more. You may also find these tournaments hosted by other content creators, such as Seiju. But now that things are looking less bleak and the updates keep coming, I'm sure that Sorcerer Battlegrounds will have a bright future. But if the updates stop coming or something goes horribly wrong, then I don't think Sorcerer Battlegrounds will last. And of course, I will be here to cover it all. And as always, I want to know what did you think about this update? Is it really a step in the right direction or not? And if you wish to be featured in my future videos, be sure to check out my community tab where I'll be interacting with the community. But with that, I will see you in the next one.